Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Gray Area. My name is Alex, and today we have an amazing DJ, producer, composer, and songwriter and vocalist. That's a lot of things. DJ Rae. How are you today?
Hello. Thank you for that beautiful intro. I'm doing good. Thank you. Nice to be here with you.
Thanks for taking the time out to talk to us. I always like to start interviews by asking, what's the earliest musical memory that you have?
Oh, musical memory. I mean, there's a lot from my childhood, but one that kind of stays with me because it feels like it was really special was kind of just sifting through my mum and dad's little 7-inch records that they kept in a little red leather box, which felt quite special. And just kind of, you know, looking through and just wanting to play them. And then I kind of got into the 12-inch albums that were in the next cupboard. And the Supremes album stuck out to me. You know, it's got like sort of lips on the cover. And I took it and played it relentlessly and did the whole hairbrush thing in the bedroom. So yeah, that was a special one for me.
That's so cool. And you learned the harmonies too, like at a young age. I got to say that's pretty impressive. Is that like when you started to realize that you had an inclination towards music?
Well, I didn't realize it at the time, you know, because you're just so young and you just, you kind of don't really put two and two together. You just know what you love. It was kind of later that I guess I kind of thought back over those times and sort of thought, yeah, I definitely was picking out harmonies really naturally, which is interesting because I sort of never really thought about, you know, going into a group and kind of harmonizing. I just knew that I just wanted to do this thing, and it served me really well actually through my career, having that ear for harmonizing, which makes for some really beautiful stuff to happen. So yeah, I don't think I realized until later on that I was, you know, I had this kind of thing that was slowly building through my life.
That's so interesting that that it kind of just came to you naturally. When did you start to realize it? Was it around, I mean, I know that your brother got you into dance music. Like you stole his, you kind of have this thing, you stole your parents' records, and then you started stealing your brother's mixtapes.
Oh, no.
Can you talk a little bit about that? I mean, I think it's really interesting because it just shows that that your family's inspired you so much along the way, and they've really like played a huge part in your musical DNA. Can you talk about your brother's impact on how you see music and what's important to you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess anyone with an older brother or sister, maybe, I don't know, you know, there's this thing where you just kind of follow them if they're fairly cool and they seem to be bringing stuff into the house that, you know, you're not really familiar with. You just want a piece of everything they're doing. So that was kind of how it was, you know. I used to hear these kind of beats coming from his bedroom. He had his door shut and I was just like enthralled, like, what is going on? So obviously when he went out, I would go and try and find where that music came from. What was it? Was it a tape? Was it a CD back in those days, you know? Right. And yeah, I would just kind of latch onto it. And, you know, we had that relationship where I was probably quite annoying to him at the time, you know, my little sister, go away. So I had to do everything on the DL, you know, It was like creeping around trying to get my piece of the action, which, yeah, I was quite good at that. And yeah, I think when we were sort of a little bit older, he just saw that I was so into what was going on and I couldn't really have a part of it because I was too young. So when we actually could go out together, it was really special. It really kind of, like a house music did for so many different kind of relationships, it just allowed bridges to happen, you know. You suddenly were like best friends with all walks of life that you would never have imagined being in before, you know. And it was a really beautiful thing. I actually think house music has played a part in bringing us together a lot quicker than we would have without it, you know. So yeah, luckily he had really good taste, the stuff he was listening to. When I found out what it was very credible and still is to this day. So I had a really good foundation in house music.
That's so great. I have a brother who's 4.5 years older than me, so I definitely like can relate to the idea of like wanting to do everything that they did and like really being inspired by them. And before I got into dance music, I was into hip hop, and that's how I got into hip hop, was because I shared a room with him. So anytime he would leave the room, I would wander over to his side of the room and, have a couple of CDs and hope that he didn't notice.
Yeah, they always did notice though.
Oh no, every single time.
You knew there was going to be a bit of trouble, but hey, you can deal with it. It's fine. It was worth it.
100%. I mean, I couldn't get the cool music on my own, so that was the only way for me to get it.
Exactly.
So he also gave you your first set of turntables?
Well, he didn't really give them again, I feel like I'm sort of creating this real bad rep for myself. People will be like holding their belongings real close now, like, she's coming, watch out, I've heard about this one.
You did exactly what every little sibling does. You took their stuff and hoped they didn't notice, and eventually it became yours.
Muscled in on the action.
Exactly.
Yeah. But this was a funny one because it was just like the timing of it was just so beautiful. It was as if it was like the tapestry of my life just kind of played out so well. I came back from Ibiza. I had vinyl, but I had no decks. I didn't know really what I was doing. I was just stumbling around, like finding my way and doing what felt natural to me.
Yeah.
He was like, he had the decks in my bedroom because I had the bigger bedroom. So It was like perfect. I was like, oh yeah. I mean, I'd had a little fumble around on the decks before, but this was like an opportunity to really practice. And I don't remember him being opposed to that one, actually. I think it was kind of like we were starting to see from the same page a little bit, it was like, okay, yeah, we yeah. And it was more like a little kind of fun hobby for him, whereas I was really sort of fired up by then. I was kind of like, this is what I want to do, man. I've seen what's going on out there. I've seen the DJ playing, and I want to be that person, So yeah, it's just beautiful how it happened, really.
That's so great. How did you realize that that was the thing that you wanted to do? Was there like a specific moment that said, hey, that made you go from being the person on the dance floor to saying, I want to be in control of everybody on the dance floor?
Yeah, I mean, I can remember like standing in clubs somewhere in like quite a distance from the DJ. Like back then, it wasn't really so much that you could see the DJ and kind of make out always like what they even looked like. But I knew that there was a booth there. There was someone in it playing the music that was right here. And I'd just be kind of standing in the club, like looking, thinking, that's where I need to be. It wasn't like a sort of, an ego thing or, I'm not happy here, I need to be somewhere else. I was super happy where I was. But it was just this kind of thing, like this yearning, like I really want to be playing the music to people like me.
Everything happened so organically for you, it sounds like. Everything, like all of these steps in your process, from like being young and discovering this music through your brother and like up to like you becoming a DJ, seems like it happens just like so naturally for you. Like that was like almost exactly what you were always supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds kind of a little bit sort of out there, but it was, I didn't have anybody in my family or my network that made me see any of this was like a possibility in my life. It's like I've just kind of almost like, I think I'm pretty sure I'm still doing it now, and I've realized it a lot more now, that just putting energies out there somehow manifests what is meant to be. And I really have started to own in on that lots more in the recent years, because it's the only way I make sense of everything.
That's beautiful. It's also nice to come to that realization and continue to realize that throughout your life. And being in the place where you're supposed to be, Again, like you said, it may seem a little bit out there, but there's definitely some truth to just being in the right space and realizing that you're doing the exact thing that you want to be doing with your life.
Yeah, for real.
You worked with Sandy Rivera, and I know that like initially working with him was like a huge part of like your breakthrough. Can you talk about how you guys first met?
Yeah, well, it was Ibiza again. Ibiza plays a big part in lots of things for me, and I'm sure lots of other people.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound real when I kind of even remember that time now, like, but it was me at Bora Bora with my records, going home that day with a bunch of friends. I knew the owner of Bora Bora, probably had kind of muscled in to try to get to know the people in my favourite places of most of the places I was going to. So I was kind of like, I've got my records, da 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 da. Sandy was late for his set. I managed to get on. I don't know how long it was for. It could have been like 5 minutes, could have been half an hour. But yeah, I was playing records. Sandy came on, promptly took over, which was great. And I was like, hey, nice to meet you. We'll have to keep in touch. He was living in London, came back. We kept in touch, got straight in the studio. Which is kind of like Sandy is, he was like, oh, so you can sing? Well, come down to the studio. So I went and sang, and really that was like the beginning. It was like I was like a kind of very sort of I suppose just like a raw kind of talent. I didn't really know how to use my voice to the best of its ability yet, so he was kind of coming in from a sort of mentoring angle as well, which was really great for me at that time, that point in time. And I think, we just started firing out stuff straight away. It was really quick. And obviously he was connected with Defected already. So he had kind of like a really good route for us to channel and to go down. And yeah, as they say, the rest is history.
I mean, being able to work with somebody that iconic and that has that much history in dance music must have been pretty special, considering how long you had already been so completely like engrossed by it.
Yeah. I mean, I think also though, kind of when you're sort of really young and fresh on the scene, you've got so much kind of fire in your belly that you don't always see the kind of I don't know, maybe you don't even see the opportunities right there and then. You're just kind of like in it, and that you're striving to kind of be on your mission. So I remember being, I mean, obviously it was a real big thing, like working with Sandy, but I was always almost like in a sort of like my own planet as well. I was just like, this is great, my kind of things taking off. And Sandy was kind of quite sort of practical about the things that we were doing and the way we were doing it, and I was just like on my little cloud nine, loving it. And I mean, it's really cool now to think that it's how many years later, like over 10 years, and Sandy and I are still working together, but in a really different kind of capacity now, after kind of being on the journey for a time. And he's still like top of his game, like that really sort of says a lot, and I think speaks volumes for his beautiful work. And so I am, yes, still very privileged to be working closely with such people.
100%. I mean, it says a lot for you as well, because people keep coming back to work with you over and over again. He's not the only one that's a repeat. People keep coming back to you, and that says a lot about you, about your work ethic and the amount of talent that you have. So we definitely want to recognize that.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean that like you say, it kind of goes both ways, doesn't it? And I think that if you were talking to Sandy now, we would both agree we've drove each other nuts over the years, but there's a beauty in that kind of dynamic that keeps coming back together with great music. So yeah.
100%. And the two of you reworked one of my favorite all-time dance music songs, Koshin's Hide You.
Ooh,
Um, and you also get to sing other house classics with the Hacienda Classical Orchestra. How does it
yeah.
feel to stand on stage and like relive your musical memories in front of thousands of people in these iconic venues? Like that must be really, really special.
Yeah, it is. Like you said, it's another one of those moments where you're like, you're like, gosh, I'm sure like I must have dreamt this like once upon a time, like I remember being in my old bedroom singing to like Inner City and quite a few of the songs that we do in the Hacienda Classical, and to do it with live orchestra, like thousands of people in front of you and just the most beautiful way of delivering such timeless songs. Honestly, I have goosebumps so often throughout the show, and it's the one thing that I would say to anybody that I know, anybody that is able to come to a show, come to a show, because it is so beautiful. It's definitely one of the most special things, and performance-wise, one of the most special performances I've done in my career.
It's such a unique way to experience dance music,
Yeah,
um, because it just proves how far dance music has come, um, as a legitimate art form.
yeah,
To have an orchestra perform classics says that we've we've crossed over into the place where we're respected and
yeah.
respected enough to have serious musicians perform, music that we originally intended to be fun and to bring people together. It's just really
Yeah.
special.
It really is, yeah. And the songs that stand up, time and time again, like the beauty of the songs that for me, like I've always also wanted to try to champion that, bringing the songs to life in house
Mm,
music, because so many people will be like, oh yeah, I know that song, but I didn't know that was you, or I didn't know that was her or him, or you would not know so many of the greatest voices of house music if they literally walked past you right now. And I really wanted a chance to kind of change that in my career, and I hope that it is changing now. So the voices have a face, have a name, have a profile that people know, and I will keep trying to champion that for as long as I'm doing this.
well, I think that's important too, because for so long, dance music was kind of a faceless entity. Even like you
Exactly.
said before, the DJ was hidden somewhere in the club. Nobody even knew what this person looked like. Nobody
Mm,
knew who these fabulous, like innovative producers that really changed the face of not just dance music, but music altogether. Like
yeah,
nobody had any idea who they were. And more recently, people are starting to realize, oh, these people do have faces, and these people that have been around for 30, 40 years, that
that's
have been
it.
toiling away for 30, 40 years, they should be recognized on the street just as much as any person that has been doing this for that long.
For sure. I think that's it. You've touched on, the kind of the ever rising profile of the DJ slash producers. Well, I think we've still got a real way to go with the artists and the
Hmm.
voices. There's an imbalance that I'm hoping in the next 10 years we might see that kind of become, let's say, balanced more fairly,
Yeah.
and that really is down to the attitudes in the industry that we need to keep working on to change.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it is nice to see people bringing artists on stage more for performances, but we
Mm,
definitely have a long way to go in recognizing, women and people of color and so many other people that have sat on the back end of the industry,
yeah,
but also helped make it what it is today.
for
Um,
sure.
and I
Yeah.
mean, you did a lot for that. You were the first woman to combine live performance and DJing at Ushuaia and Ibiza. That's
Yeah.
that's kind of iconic. How does it feel to be one of the people that actually is helping trailblaze things like that? To be one of the first people to say, I can do both on stage at the same time.
Oh, it's always been a blessing, really, for me. Like it was always an element of surprise. I liked that kind of. I might be sort of just playing for a bit, and then you get on the mic and do one of your songs live, and there was a sort of, yeah, it was quite surreal. So many times people would be like, oh, there's someone singing. And then I'd have people coming up to me later going, I really didn't realize it sounded like, you know, just like the record. And then there's you, and you actually made that record. And, you know, it's kind of really, yeah, it was really cool. Like when I kind of started at that point at Ushuaia, it was still a very rare thing to experience. It's becoming more and more, I guess, well, we've just had a pandemic, so it's not really something that you're going to see a whole lot of, but I think you will see a lot more of it in the coming years, you know, because like we said, the industry's ever changing and the doors have opened up a lot more. So I'd like to think I was a part of that movement, you know, that's nice to think, and to think that maybe one day if my daughter wants to sort of follow in those footsteps, it's a much more open forum for how you want to express yourselves as an artist in this crazy world.
No doubt, no doubt. Let's talk about your daughter for a second. You just had a baby. Like, she's 3 months old?
Yeah, almost, yeah.
That as things start to open up, that must present, like, I mean, you've been training for this your whole life, of the not sleeping, but that must also present some challenges for you. How have you learned to balance just have a work-life balance in your life? Because I mean, even before having a baby, being in nightlife presents issues in terms of just being able to sleep and being able to take care of your mental health and all of these things. So how have you learned to have that work-life balance?
Well, I think it started to happen quite a few years ago, to be honest. You know, I've kind of, like you touched upon, the mental health side of it, stress, anxiety, all those things I've felt at some point in my career where things have just been, you know, weighing down on my shoulders, and it's hard to know where to turn at the time, especially if you're an independent artist. So I tried to find that work-life balance. And I'd like to say I had a pretty good hold in it, you know, the kind of yoga, mindfulness, meditation, like exercise, healthy eating, all those things have served me really well, I'd say, in the last kind of 5 to 10 years. And so having my baby is just like a sort of extension to everything, really. It's brought in this surreal level of happiness and joy to my life. So making compromises for that, it doesn't feel like it is a compromise, actually. It's just like it's happening naturally to me, you know. In the pregnancy, I made loads of music. I had so much time because I went through, you know, lockdown experience where I was able to sit here in my studio and produce, you know, and write and sing and do all the things that I love. And I came out with so much music. So this time now where, I have to be a devoted mother, there's still so much happening as the overspill of all that work that I ploughed into when I had the time, you know. So I know that I will find the time again as well. As you know, as a parent, any parent knows there's windows, you know, and those 100%. Windows, it never feels like a chore. Like if I really want to make a certain thing happen, I'll make it happen, and I won't compromise her, I won't compromise the music. It will just happen naturally, and if it's not meant to be, it won't be. Simple as that.
Beautifully said, beautifully said. Must be awesome for her growing up with a mom with an incredible voice, especially around, I'm sure you sing to her a lot. Are there like any favorite songs that you like to sing to her? Do you find yourself gravitating towards certain things that you like to sing to her?
It's just something I'm going through. Well, she likes that one for sure. I mean, when David Morales sent that over to me, like listening to what he'd done for the first time, I had her just, you know, we were just like standing around and put it on and just carried on, kind of, you know, swaying the new mother sway, we call it.
Yeah.
And she was just like so calm, and I had goosebumps and tears of joy. So that one, I know that's a little bit of beautiful promotion right there, but
It is.
it was a beautiful moment. There's no doubt about it.
Well, let's talk about that song too, because you've said it was like hugely personal for you, and you wrote it, you know, during the pandemic, and you collaborated with David Morales. Can you talk about just how that song came to be and what it means to you?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely one of those kind of times where you can feel like it's a struggle. Like I'm trying to kind of make sense of lots of things that have happened in my life, and not having a particularly great time doing that. You know, sometimes
Yeah.
it feels like there's that cloud over you, and I don't like that feeling, and I need an outlet for it. You know, I like to just get the weight off my shoulders and,
Yeah.
you know, see the light again. And that really, that process for me, making a song like that, it really does just lift your spirits. You know, somehow it's so strange, because you're kind of sometimes writing it and almost in tears doing it, but then it's just cathartic to get it out there. You know, it's like writing pages and pages in your diary. Once it's done, it's like, now I can breathe, you know.
Yeah.
And it was one of those, like, because I was in such a unique space and mood, I kind of left it in a certain way, went back to it a few times, added different bits of production here and there, worked on it with another collaborator as well, but never quite got it in that space it needed to be in. You know, the song just needed to have a certain life, and that happened with David Morales. And wow, I mean, you know, I love the man's work from day one. So
Yeah.
I still didn't really know how it was going to go, but what he delivered to me it literally took the mood and worked everything beautifully around it to put it in that space. And I was like, that's perfect. That really is just perfection.
I love it. I love it when things come together like that. That's just a beautiful story, and it that's going to touch people in just really great ways.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm sure people can sort of relate to it in lots of different ways. It's got a real positive slant on it, like it wasn't intentional. Again, it must have been me kind of, you know, giving myself some therapy, because it's like, man, I know this feels tough right now, but it is going to be all right, you know. And it is, always is. You know, you just have to reach out or sometimes delve deep, and you know, it's painful at the time, but you get through it. And I hope that's a message for people who kind of feel like they don't have that support out there as well, because there is always some way that it can get better.
Well, I think that's kind of like a poignant message, especially in dance music. We're coming out of 2 years of no dance floors, and a lot of people have definitely felt those things. But dance music has always been a place to uplift and, you know, make people feel better. So I think that's just like a really great message to have right now. So thank you for that.
Hey, that's my pleasure.
So you've been in dance music for a long time, and we've had 2 years, almost 2 years with no dance floors. What do you think the biggest positive impact of this time period has been on the scene?
I think I would like to think that it's brought things back to basics. You know, it's taken away a lot of the stuff that people sort of take for granted. You know, you can't go out there and command silly amounts of money and things that you don't really need, you know, in order to be an artist.
Right.
You know, just get back to basics and what's it all about. And I think we've seen some really beautiful things coming through from that. For me as an artist, you know, it's just taking it back to foundations, and I hope that has changed the future of our scene as well, because I think it was getting really saturated in a way that wasn't really fulfilling and fruitful. So let's hope that it's brought about a slightly different thinking artist for the future.
Beautifully said. 100%. I completely agree with you. I'm looking forward to what this means for the future of dance music, because we need to reset.
Exactly, yeah. And let's just hope that, you know, that we have a really good chance in the coming years to make it a better place for our children, and moving forward, let's, you know, let's just be strong and overcome whatever this thing is. It's definitely brought people together in a really good way, in a communal way that, again, we'd lost touch of. I think our generation needed that, you know, like you said, that reset, and let's hope that it keeps living on.
Yeah, no, I've reconnected with so many people after spending so much time in Twitch streams or just on email and Zoom calls or what have you. And it feels like we've gone back to being a scene and not as much of an industry, even though we are an industry. It's nice to feel like a community again.
Yeah, I know, exactly. We call it an industry and all that kind of thing, but you know, it should be a community. It really should be, and hopefully that's what we've got back to. I know a lot of people want it to be like that, like we do. So hopefully we just keep charging that sentiment forward.
Perfect. And this seems like a great place to draw things to a close, but also move into the speed round, which I told you about earlier. So what I'm going to do is ask you a bunch of quick fire questions. I have not told you what they are. Some of them are kind of silly, and we'll just see what happens.
Okay.
All right. Are you ready?
Yeah, as ready as I'll ever be.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Pizza or sandwiches?
Pizza.
Favorite tea?
English.
Favorite yoga pose?
Standing bow.
All right. The Supremes or Jackson 5?
The Supremes.
Intimate club or festival?
Intimate club.
Rave or club?
Rave.
Analog or digital?
Analog.
Technique 1200s or CDJ 3000s?
Oh. CDJ.
All right. Snow or beach?
Beach.
Lake or ocean?
Ocean.
If you could have one superpower, would you choose flight or invisibility?
Flight.
Analog or digital?
You asked me that one already, and I did say analog.
Oh, I did. You're right. I'm sorry. I repeated the question.
I actually would probably have to say, like, I would embrace both, because analog is what I prefer to hear from the final mix.
Right.
But I'm not an analog chick here because I don't have all the kit. But
right.
I've been beautifully graced to work with people that do have, you know, needs and such, and I love the sound of it. And obviously we grew up on that sound, so
right.
it would have to be the winner ultimately. Yeah, bit of a long-winded one, but
no
yeah, but thank you to digital for allowing us to emerge as artists without having all those things.
100%. You know? It's made it so everybody can do the thing.
Exactly.
Favorite karaoke song?
Ooh, that's really tough. That's tough. Shall we just throw one out there?
Yeah, just throw it
out. Maybe Fleetwood Mac.
I love Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many though that I love to sing. I'd play their album all the time still. Let's go Rihanna.
All right. Beautiful song. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Would you rather be chronically underdressed or chronically overdressed?
Under.
Good answer.
Let's keep it real.
All right. Drum and bass or trap?
Drum and bass.
Trap or trance?
Trance.
Pop or hip hop?
Pop.
Favorite color?
Black.
Flip flops or shoes?
Shoes.
All right. And then final question. Finish this sentence. Before I die, I want to.
Make sure my daughter's happy.
I love that. That was the perfect answer.
It took me a moment, but I was just zoning into the energies in the room, and here she is. So
with her babbling in the background, it's beautiful. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time out to speak to me today. I really appreciate it, and it's been great talking to you.
You too. Thank you so much for just sharing a bit of time together. It's been a really nice interview, so bless you.
Thank you, and bless you as well. And we'll be speaking soon.
Cool.
Awesome. Bye.